Welcome to Heartglow CEO, where high-performing leaders learn to regulate stress, strengthen self-trust, and make clear decisions without sacrificing their health or values. I'm Casey Rossi, Integrative Leadership Coach. Expect practical nervous system tools, conscious leadership insights, and real conversations that bring achievement into alignment. Take a deep breath with me, and let's dive in. There is something about endings that brings the truth of a relationship into sharper focus. A team member resigns and leaves important details unfinished. A client stops responding rather than having an honest conversation. A colleague quietly withdraws from a project. Someone you've mentored benefits from your support, yet handles the final chapter with surprisingly little care. The disappointment is rarely limited to practical inconvenience. It touches something deeper. You may begin questioning whether relationship meant what you thought it did. Perhaps you wonder whether your time was valued, whether the person learned anything, or whether the energy you invested made a meaningful difference. I've been reflecting on this because there is an important leadership distinction hidden inside these experiences. A poor ending does not necessarily mean the work failed. Sometimes the way a person leaves reveals the very pattern they have not yet learned to navigate. Someone who avoids difficult conversations may struggle most when it comes time to have a difficult goodbye. A person who fears disappointing others may choose silence over telling the truth. Someone who has trouble taking ownership may leave commitments unresolved even after making progress in other areas. The ending does not erase that progress. It simply shows us where the work remains incomplete. We tend to give the final moments of a relationship tremendous power. When an experience ends with mutual respect, honest communication, and appreciation, we can easily recognize its value. The ending seems to confirm what happened between us mattered. And honestly, it's something that my system craves. I love having a clean loop closure. A messy or avoidant departure can create the opposite impression. Suddenly, the final interaction colors everything that came before it. Yet human development is rarely so neat and tidy. People can value what they received and still lack the capacity to end well. They can understand the importance of communication without having the courage to initiate an uncomfortable conversation. Significant growth can coexist with an old pattern that returns under pressure. Knowing something is not the same as embodying it. And listen to this. Our deepest patterns often remain quiet when life is easy. They emerge during transition, conflict, disappointment, and loss of control. An ending places us in that exact territory. It asks us to face change, communicate clearly, tolerate another person's response, and accept that something is complete. Those are sophisticated emotional and leadership capacities. Understanding this does not require us to excuse careless behavior. Communication, follow-through, and respectful closure, they're all reasonable expectations. Leadership is about naming when those standards have not been met. The opportunity is to hold someone accountable without making their behavior mean more than it does. Think about that for a second. How a person leaves may reveal something about their present capacity. The meaning we attach to their leaving may reveal something about our own patterns. That's a truth bomb, my friends. For a conscientious, heart-centered leader, an unfinished ending can activate the part that has spent a lifetime being dependable. You may give generously, stay engaged, and take relationships seriously. When someone does not meet you there, their behavior can feel like rejection, not only of the relationship, but of everything you contributed to it. A quiet belief may begin operating beneath the surface. If they truly valued what I gave, they would have handled this differently. My grandmother always used to say, "Take me, but not for granted." That stuck with me, so I have to be extra careful when an old belief is making me ruminate or feelings of judgment or resentment arise. Respectful closure is one way human beings communicate value, so it's natural to want that. Still, another person's inability to offer it is not reliable evidence that your contribution was meaningless. Their behavior may say more about the limits of their emotional range versus the worth that you offered. This is especially important for leaders whose care can easily become over responsibility. When someone leaves a situation unfinished, the caring leader may feel compelled to resolve it for both people. Perhaps you reach out again, offer another opportunity to explain, soften the consequences, or mentally replay the experience in search of the conversation that would finally make it feel complete. I know I've done that. Have you? At first glance, this can look like compassion, and sometimes it is. At other times, we are trying to secure something the other person may not be willing or able to give us: acknowledgement, reassurance, gratitude, or proof that our investment mattered. That is where care becomes entangled with carrying. And if you're a note taker, I invite you to highlight that. Leadership asks us to know the difference. Compassion allows us to understand that someone may be acting from fear, shame, overwhelm, or avoidance. Boundaries remind us that understanding their behavior does not require us to continue absorbing its consequences. A leader who offers compassion without discernment may overfunction or keep doing the emotional work that belongs to someone else. A leader who relies only on standards can become rigid and lose sight of the human being inside the behavior. I wonder if you can think of someone that you've had that experience with. And if you're listening to this, I know that there's a third option. The wiser path holds both truths. I can understand why this may be difficult for you, and I can still expect you to participate responsibly. That balance is central to conscious leadership. It helps us see a person clearly without reducing them to their worst moment, while also preventing us from romanticizing their potential and ignoring their present behavior. Endings give us information. They may expose a pattern that was visible throughout the relationship, but easier to overlook when things are going well. They can also reveal something about our own leadership. Were expectations around communication and completion clear? Did we notice the pattern earlier, but continue compensating for it? Were we relating to the person's potential rather than their demonstrated readiness? And lastly, did our desire to be helpful keep us involved longer than was healthy? These questions are not an invitation to blame ourselves for someone else's choices. They are an invitation to harvest the wisdom. Sometimes the lesson is practical. We may need clearer agreements at the beginning, including an honest conversation about how transitions or endings will be handled. I personally love to debrief when situations don't go as expected and extract the learning lessons to see what could I have done better sooner or not at all. In other situations, the lesson is more internal. We may need to stop measuring the worth of our contribution by another person's ability to recognize it. Most of us prefer evidence. We want to see that the seed grew, the guidance landed, and the care made a difference. Leadership often asks us to influence outcomes without controlling them. We can create conditions that support growth. We can tell the truth with kindness, uphold standards, and offer meaningful guidance. What another person ultimately does, it's up to them. Influence is not ownership. Something we taught may return to a person long after the relationship has ended. Growth may become visible years later after they have repeated the pattern several more times. I recently had a client that I worked with 3 years ago send me a heartfelt email letting me know that she never properly thanked me for my support and how valuable it was and continues to be. That felt really nice to hear, and in some cases, we may never know what took root. Our integrity cannot depend entirely on witnessing the result. The goal is not to become guarded. It is to become cleaner in how we care. Letting go does not mean pretending the ending was acceptable. It means placing responsibility where it belongs. There is a difference between grief and failure. Grief says, I wish this had ended differently. I care about this person or what we were creating together. Failure says, because the ending disappointed me, nothing that came before it had value. A difficult ending may deserve our grief without requiring us to invalidate the entire experience. That distinction creates room for a more honest completion. We can appreciate what was genuine, acknowledge what remained unfinished, and accept that the other person was not able to bring what we thought that they should bring to the final chapter. One question has been especially meaningful to me. Can I trust that what I gave had value without controlling what the other person does with it? That question returns to the heart of leadership. We're responsible for the quality of our presence, the clarity of our communication, and the integrity of our choices. We are not responsible for managing another adult's growth, readiness, or willingness to complete a relationship well. When mutual closure is available, it can be deeply healing. When it's not, completion may need to come from within. That does not mean inventing an explanation or denying the hurt. It means allowing the facts to be enough. I showed up. I communicated what was true. I offered what was mine to offer. I can learn from the ending without carrying the other person's unfinished work. Take a breath there. As you think about an ending in your own life or leadership, consider what it revealed. What have you made the other person's behavior mean about you? Is there something you are still trying to receive from them before allowing yourself the opportunity to move forward? What would a clean, self-respecting completion look like now? An ending may reveal the limits of someone's present capacity. It may also uncover the place where our own leadership is ready to become clearer, steadier, and less entangled. The deeper practice is learning to receive that wisdom without turning disappointment into self-doubt, compassion into overfunctioning, or another person's unfinished lesson into our burden to carry. I hope today's episode resonated with you. I would love to hear your thoughts, whether you want to dash me a DM or leave a review at lovethepodcast.com/brilliance. Until next time, my friend, breathe joy.